Well, I'll start with Darren actually, because we in the media, I don't think anyone was predicting they would be this superior to everybody else, particularly with a new manager coming in. What has Arne Slot changed, do you think, that has allowed Liverpool to put so much clear red water between themselves and everybody else?
Well, the first thing that he's done, we see so often when a manager takes over at a football club, he puts his ego first and the club second, and he feels he's got to bring in a big signing, he's got to do this, he's got to do that. And what Slot has done is he's recognised the quality in the Liverpool team, and he's appreciated it and respected it, and he's decided, I don't need to reinvent the wheel and spend money. Where am I going to get a better left back at that point than Robertson? Where am I going to get a better centre half than Van Dijk? I've got two top goalkeepers in midfield. I'd love to get Zubimendi, but if I can't, I can play with Gravenberch there. He's got versatility, he's got youth, he's got a terrific academy where young players have come through and shown that they can cope with the pressure of playing for Liverpool. And then up front, you've got any number of players who can score goals and take responsibility. So what he has done is he's taken a little bit of the intensity out of the game. So we were used to them going hell for leather from the start under Jurgen Klopp, whereas they are a lot more patient. And there were a couple of games I saw during the first half of the season where Trent would just thread a ball through the right-hand side for Salah to run onto and curl one into the top corner. And there were games where I remember kind of thinking, where's the zip? Where's the pace? Where's the what
where's
did we
the
call
heavy
it?
metal gone? Yeah.
Yeah. But actually,
and all that,
that's serving them so well going into this second half of the season, precisely because of what Dan was saying about the likes of Szoboszlai running forever. The way that they're able to go up a gear in this final third of the season when other teams are struggling with injuries and crying off and not being able to live with the pace, but they are going from strength to strength. So yeah, and I'm sure Danny will be able to pick on some more specific things, but from the media eye, if you like, I think it's been a little bit about Slot and a little bit about his tactics.
Yeah, I think there's a tactical element. I think some, obviously, man management skills in terms of... So if you look at two great examples in Konate and Gravenberch, who have never been first choice for Klopp, really. Konate had spells...
Yeah.
But, Matip was there, and Gomez had played. Quansah, Klopp played Quansah a lot ahead of Konate. I remember in the big game at Old Trafford, ended up losing in the Cup. I think it was last season. But when you have a manager who's got belief in you and you know you're going to play all the time, your performance levels go up, your confidence rises, you're not worried about every mistake. And that's definitely happened with those two. Yeah. I think there's been some little tweaks in what he's done up front. Occasionally he'll play... a false nine in Diaz. He done it with Szoboszlai yesterday. That's something we didn't see Klopp do very often. I think the emergence of Curtis Jones has been huge, and I think he's played him more forward, let him off his leash, whereas Klopp had him a bit more as a more of a neat and tidy build-up player who gets it off the back and tries to play. I think his age, he's getting better anyway. It's not just a Slot thing. I mean, tactically, they are more measured at times, but they've still got the chaos in them. They really have. If you start going at Liv when it becomes a basketball game, they don't mind.
But that's the thing. That's if you do. But the way that they start, it isn't hell for leather from the start as it used to be.
And the other thing as well, I think, which I didn't realise I'd properly look at till recently, is that if you look at the numbers, generally Liverpool's second half performances and the goals they've scored in second half means there's obviously... I'm not saying they weren't fit under Klopp, because obviously they were, to have the success that they didn't play the way they did. But they've certainly maintained that at least, or kicked on even more, because...
And that may be a result of that not starting like a supersonic rocket in every game,
Just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah. And interesting, in a world, Danny, where... we, and I mean the supporters of clubs, we are screaming at directors of football and owners to buy, upgrade, change the squad. Liverpool, Slot presumably was given the choice to bring in reinforcements, kept the squad exactly the same as last season, with the exception of a loan signing of Chiesa, who, let's be fair, for a number of reasons, hasn't figured whatsoever. It's an interesting change of what we expect from English clubs. They can't wait for the transfer window to come. They start lashing out dough on big names, not necessarily to the betterment of the actual squad they've got.
Well, I think it's very clever, isn't it, to not rush in and look at what you've got first. I mean, if you think about people like Conor Bradley and Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, he would have had a chance to see them the season before, look at the videos and see the quality they had anyway. So, and also,
and he knew Gravenberg from his time in Holland, which I think was really important.
But also as well, he would have believed with the quality that, I mean, let's not forget last season, up until the last 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks, Liverpool were banging the title race. So this was a side that only he might have watched all the games and thought there was only a few tweaks needed. But the other thing, just before I forget, actually, I need to mention as well is the fullbacks stay home more under him.
Yeah.
Trent plays his position more. Still has a wander now and again, and still with some wonderful pass and ends up central midfield for 10 minutes in a game, but it's never as much as it was. And Robbo doesn't fly as much as he occasionally does. I mean, he got forward brilliantly a couple of times yesterday, but generally he stays home a bit more.
This is my point about them being much more forensic under Slot, because Trent can stay at home, but he can still pick a pass,
of course he can.
And he can still provide a superb assist from distance. He still can be surgical. And it's no surprise that Liverpool have got the second best defensive record in the Premier League because of, that much more conservative but even more effective way of playing.
Game management's good as well.
Really good, really good. And this is the thing, even if he does buy a couple of players in the window, I'm surprised they haven't nailed down Zubimendi, because the word is that he's going to go to Arsenal and not to Liverpool. But I would still imagine they would bring in high-class reinforcements.
I don't think Zubimendi's better than Gravenberg.
Interesting.
I mean, I've seen him probably, 4 or 5 times. I don't think he's better. He's a super player. But
do you know what I've learned in 25 years of 20 years of doing TV? Never argue with top players about players. So I'm going to sit and listen.
Well, you see,
funny enough, I've taken the opposite lesson from my time, Darren. I've got to be honest. They sit there, they're football men.
In the words of the great philosopher Dirty Harry, a man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I'm single.
Danny, listen, that may be their limitations, Danny, not yours.
That's true. The whole world. You're right, Dan. Yeah, it's all them. It's not me.
Yeah, Dan, it would be nuts to go through this section of the programme without mentioning the form of Mohamed Salah. Again, something that I didn't predict this. He has been, one of the best players in the Premier League in each of the last umpteen seasons. But to see what he's doing now, I mean, I'm a neutral in this. I've got no skin in the game. I just love football, except when he's doing it against Tottenham, which he does pretty regularly. It's almost a privilege now to watch a player at this level. And sometimes you see someone doing it in France, and you think the level's not that high there. And I don't think this is a classic Premier League by any means. No. I'll say that as well. But to watch him playing week after week after week at the level he is, in the end, you just think I'm getting entertained here. And I'll remember this season. It's amazing.
I don't think many people thought he would get better than he's already been, because he has had some wonderful seasons. Well, his consistency's been brilliant, but this season he's kicked on. He looks physically great, body language good, lots of smiles, lots of energy, which we haven't always seen. I think this is another bit of clever management as well. Not how he looks after himself. That's down to Salah.
Yeah.
Very rarely brings him off. Keeps him sweet. The amount of times he was sat on the bench after fuming when Klopp would bring him off or rest him now and again. He doesn't do it.
What's the impact of that as a player?
Well, I don't know as a top player like him, because I really was somebody, especially when I was at Liverpool, who had to really be on my games to stay in the team. So it's like sometimes you're not going to play. And you kind of got that. You've got to get on with that mindset and be ready the next one, especially when you're playing lots of games. When you're the best player and you've done it for so many years, sometimes there's a God-given right that you've got to play. You think that, but as a manager, you got to choose your battles. How do I get the best out of him? Getting the best out of the best players normally is by saying, "Go on, just go." Yeah. You don't need to bring him off half an hour to go rest him in.
We're pressed for time, but all I just had, you can think about this over the break. I also wonder whether the fullback staying at home has given more space for Cody Gakpo and Mohamed Salah to say, right, we are the person doing the attacking on this side of the pitch, and whether that's helped them as well. Football is complicated, And I just wondered, well, it just occurred to me when I thought about their fullbacks, whether the wide players are actually getting more space into which to attack their opponents. Listen, that first hour, for me at least, has flown by. I love being back on the kickoff, and we've got plenty more to get through, and we'll start the next hour with the result that at the other end of the title race that may well have seen Liverpool pass the post in the long run, West Ham's victory at Arsenal.
On AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.